Hi, good morning, everybody. How's it going? Happy Thanksgiving. Can you hear me? Once again, thank you for tuning in. This is just my second time, and well, I apologize if there's any technical errors or, uh, well, any uh, imperfection. I seek your tolerance. So, thank you very much for tuning in. Uh, Lots to cover today because we had a very restful few days of rest. It's time to start December strong. A big part of starting December strong is to prepare for the new year ahead, right? So it's time to wind down. It's a good time to wind down for the year, and the purpose, obviously, of Thanksgiving is to usher in a season of Thanksgiving, not just a day of Thanksgiving, right? So December, it's a good time to start thinking for others as well, to plan for the new year for yourself, and also to continually give thanks. Now, giving thanks is a lifestyle, it's a habit. The exercise of gratitude has to be, well, some will even consider that having it daily is not sufficient. You have to be continuously giving thanks, continuously having that heart of gratitude, and well, it's a good time as well to proceed into December with that, because you have to uh, chart ahead for the new year with that well of gratitude in order to build on it. So uh, take this December well. Uh, we'll make money, yes, but don't be trying to outdo yourself, or worst, as I always say this, do not use the last leg of any race that you're running, in this case December, for the entire year. Don't use the last leg to be overcompensating for what you have not completed. So if you have not completed your objectives from January to November, what makes you think that just spending December will outdo yourself, right? So, especially in trading, this just means that you are going to undertake more risks than you should, right? It's a very appealing storyline when you uh, come back from the dead. You are the underdog. You finish the race from last to first. Miraculous finishes, right? Clutch finishes. Very appealing, very sexy. But realistically speaking, if they come, then it's a bonus, right? It's a miracle. Bonus is good for you, but you should not be aiming for them, right? No one aims to finish like that. So you cannot finish the with that sort of mentality. So as we approach December, you do it with a heart of gratitude. You do it with that mindset of starting the new year strong. So you maintain that foundation that you have built over months, over weeks. Now, if you've been watching this, if you've been watching the videos, you realize that a big tenet of what we're doing is to create that consistency day in, day out. You'd realize we're doing this every single day, right? Creating that consistency, creating that that bedrock, that foundation that you can stack upon, that you can build on. So that's exactly that mindset you need to take approaching December and approaching the end of the year. So we have to start the live stream, the video, the preparation for the week with that mindset. And once you are calibrated, so calibration is very important. You have to calibrate. You have to center yourself. You have to have that clarity. And once you can identify the target, you can work towards it. Um, and well, a big part of that is obviously my professional training, which I am trying to impart to you. So before that, I want to also give thanks to you. This Thanksgiving season, I give thanks to you. I always mention this, that the Discord community that we have literally saved my life. You don't believe it, but the community is important for me. It gave me purpose every single day, to check in, to work on what we need to do. No matter how good I am, no matter how much professional training I have, and you would know this if you have been successful once in your life, or you are successful in your life. If you do not have checks and balances in your life, you will be led to absolute ruin. And this is a reminder to some of you who are already experiencing some sort of success. Now, if you do not have checks and balances in your life, if you do not have accountability in your life, you will eventually lead to some sort of destruction. Sin festers in places without the light, and we have to illuminate our life. And that means living above board. That means allowing the light to shine through every nook and cranny in your life, being accountable, having people check on you, just living your life with that sort of accountability. So checking in every day, having that purpose to do so, having that discipline to trade every day. I don't have to trade every day. You and I will tend to not trade every day if not for you. So you make me better. You make me better than I would expect to become. And, well, as I always say, you don't have to like something, especially if you are a grown man, for example. Many of us are not doing things because we like it. We lead our life with purpose because it's a duty, because it's right. We do it because it's right, not because we feel like it. And this gives me that duty, and it gives me stronger purpose. So I'm thankful. Thank you for every single one of you, because you keep me in check. As I mentioned, I can't meet every one of you. The only time that can happen is when I go. And I told my wife that all of you will be invited for the procession when I go. That is my I guess that's the only time we will probably all meet together. So yeah. But my work's not done. Neither is yours. We have to get to work before the time comes. And, right, you understand now my intentions, my purpose, why I do this as well. It's become a duty, isn't it? Day passes. So, as I always also mention, do not try to know someone over a fancy dinner. You know someone better when you spend time with that person, you live in that person's house. Every habit, no matter how big or small, surfaces, and you will be able to tell what kind of person that is. So thank you for being in. This is our house, isn't it? This is our house, and I'm building something. Lifetime members, you know this. Lifers, you know this. I'm building something that's that will belong to us. It's a house that we will all manage. It's not my house, it's our house. And a big part of that is how I was raised. So, story time first before we start doing the serious stuff, right? This is a Thanksgiving weekend. I don't think some of you are working, right? Some of you are probably having a drink and enjoying yourself, still having a hangover. So let's chat. Let's chat. The serious stuff will come. Trust me, you will be sober by then. Well, I was raised in the place where, all of us were abandoned, and I don't want to use that word specifically because it's not a word that I like to associate myself with. But we were all raised without a dependent, right? We were all raised just having to depend on each other. We were all kids then. I wasn't a toddler. I was already, I was still a child, 10, 11, I remember. It's around 11 years old. And a big part of that community that we lived in, right, was to depend on each other. We contributed to each other. We depended on each other. There wasn't very clear guidance on what to do, right? It was a very structured lifestyle. We all knew what we needed to do. There were duties. It was clear on what we needed to do every day. But what was unclear was the future. The future was unclear. But the future became clearer only when we did our daily tasks and we continued to serve each other. And that sort of community power built upon gave us hope. It helped us to see that we are not alone. That's firstly the most important thing. And the more important thing after that was that we saw how everybody had the same goal. And the same goal was to try to secure an uncertain but hopeful future. Can you see how that is so similar to what we're doing here? We come together, we congregate because we have this abandonment. We were abandoned one way or another. Most of us on the trading floor because we were abandoned financially by something, someone, and that's why we have this need, right? We come because we have this need. We have this need because we were abandoned one way or another. And because we are here together, we are sharing the same purpose of this bright, hopeful future that's uncertain. You don't know your future, and neither do I. But if we just do the work daily, right, that there is a fixed set of duties that we need to do, and if we serve each other with the same goals, and we contribute to each other, and we latch onto each other, we build upon each other, we will eventually find that sort of success one way or another. Now, we all go separate ways after that. My friends and I, we have went separate ways. But one thing is, after we have, graduated, I use that word loosely because there is no official graduation, we are still contributing back to this community. We are. We give. Now, giving money is the lowest form of contribution. So many people put so much emphasis on money nowadays. It's because money has turned out to be such a emotional, I don't know, right? You pay for a meal and you expect the world. You don't see that. Say I pay $50 for a nice meal in a restaurant, and I expect everything for that $50, but you don't realize that without a community of people who are paying $50 for that meal, the chef will not even cook for everybody, right? My $50 mean nothing. If I just take $50, no one's going to prepare a meal for me, right? I can't even staff a kitchen. I can't even buy the ingredients that's necessary to be apportioned into a meal for me. So, that importance of money is so overemphasized, and it's just not right. So money is the lowest level of contribution, right? And the reason why we give money, and this reason why there is, in some forms, even in church, right? We pay membership fees in church. It's not mandatory. Well, on paper it is, but they never chase you for it. But we give money because it is a form of commitment. It is the lowest level of commitment you can give. But there are other forms of commitment. Your time, your heart, your prayers. And most importantly is that desire to help others, to serve others. And right, so even if we left where we came from, we never forgotten our roots. So starting, most of you here, you are going to start with nothing, right? No clear education of the financial markets. Some of you have no idea what you're doing yet. Some of you are still learning and getting things up and running. That's absolutely fine, because you will remember your roots. And if you start small, you start humbly, and you build upon it, you will never forget your roots. And you will never forget the grace of God that is upon you as you become more successful. And the time when you become wildly successful, you have something to fall back on even when you fail. As I always mention, we are developing a skill that nobody can take away from you. Now, the skill is not just the technical skills, right? It's the skill of remaining humble. It's the skill of remaining kind. If that is the skill of remaining purposeful, it's the skill of being able to recalibrate your mind. Even if the whole world decides to destroy you, you stay strong. You are upright. You will not waver, because you have that sort of power in you to remain with integrity, with honesty. And that's powerful, because nobody can take away your dignity, your skill, and that, how should I put it? That purpose in your life, right? So let's start the week, the month, and wrap up the year, and we'll start the new year with that sort of mindset. When you understand that, so you realize the things that I do here, it's a lot in relation to what I've experienced in life, right? And likewise in my professional training. You've heard me last week. I mentioned I went into venture capital after my training as an analyst. I knew nothing. Nobody's going to teach you anything. You have to put in the work. And that's the best thing that can happen to you when you put in the work. Because, once again, nobody can take that away from you when you put in the work. And my success came from meeting a very good boss. And I hope that many of you young people out there who are starting to get to work, you meet, and God leads you to meet someone that will be willing to nurture you. Not just technically, but especially with the values of life, because the workplace will never teach you about life. It will teach you about success in a very different way. So meeting someone good, and most importantly, being with that person every single day to just, well, learn everything about the person's values and the skills that they have, and you model yourself after that person. That's quite important, right? So once again, in order for that to happen, that person must serve you almost on a daily basis. So if the person you're following is not serving you, is not fulfilling a duty to be accountable to you, to serve you, then you can't learn anything. This is why we're doing this. Every single day you report in, whether you like it or not. The market opens at 6:30 a.m. for me. I wake up, I sleep very little. Maybe by 4:30 I will be up and preparing for the market. I am rarely late for the market open. It's difficult, especially when there isn't going to be much sunlight in the day. But you got to do it. I can't do it alone. I do it only because of you. So you saved my life, and I am thankful. So remember this. Whether you like it or not, you report in, day out. You learn something, you serve, and you be served. I'm serving you. You have to learn to be served. Some of you don't even have that humility to want to be served. You think you shouldn't be served. I don't know. It's weird. We have weird people everywhere. And you develop this accountability, and you recenter yourself, you recalibrate yourself. You are going to be in good state. You are going to do absolutely well because you have followed a path of building a skill for yourself. Now, that being said, let's take a look at some very important lessons from this week. I am going to go through a little advanced lessons here, and after this, which will take probably half an hour, I will run through the preparation for the week ahead. How we're going to make money this week. Right? Maybe a story time in between again, we'll see. Right? Thank you for your patience. More stories next time. You know a little bit about my background now and the way I do things here. Any sales? Some of you mentioned Thanksgiving, Black Friday. I mean, come on. Do you think I believe in that? So, right, I mentioned last week, people asking me to do funnels, offers. I don't even know what that means. I have sponsors asking me 6 figures they're paying me 6 figures, mostly crypto stuff. I'm just short of calling them scams. No, I'm not interested in doing that. Any sales? Maybe. Let me think about it. Why don't I do this for free? Well, I mentioned it as well already, right? Money is going to be the lowest form of contribution you give for yourself. It's not for me. It's for yourself. And frankly speaking, this is a high stakes game. If you want to be trading, you want to get to the high stakes table. So you want to learn as much as you can and get to the high stakes table. Don't be scammed. People are going to be asking you for $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 using this word high stakes, getting you to commit into useless stuff. Right? I mean, how much are you paying for membership here? It's something that you can make back literally in less than a trade. I want to teach you that, right? So the contribution, risk to reward is absolutely astronomical, I would say that. You have to know why you're doing this, right? And even if not, you don't have money. This is free. Look, I'm doing this free now. 500 videos in the record. Take your time, watch everything. You will pick up a lot of skills from there. Trade with me every day, even if it's back testing. That's fine. You will see, because Everything's time stamped in Discord. Take a look. Everything's time stamped. I do that in my videos. You will learn everything if you watch. And many of you are subscribed here without being in the Patreon or Discord server. And you are doing absolutely well. Isn't it? It's still possible. So learn at your own pace. If you do make some money, or you want to contribute, do it. By all means, you will find value. So remember, this is not, I don't want this to be transactional, right? It's more of a community than anything. It's the way I was raised. It's the way that I have learned about organizations, right? My first exposure of an organization is a non-profit. And that tells you everything you need to know of how my values are shaped, right? So, yeah, and in a way, I was saved because of that. You realize that. Can you imagine if my first exposure to an organization is a bank, for example? It's my first employment. I would be tuned in a way that will be so destructive, isn't it? So, silver lining, some of you have very poor family background or childhood. All I've got to say is that God is faithful, and God is will always be faithful, and His grace is more than sufficient for us. So no matter what circumstance you are in your life right now, remember that He will come and save you. That is a promise. That is a declaration. It is a declaration that God has made for you. So don't be fearful, right? No matter what happens. Right? Some of you may be in extremely deep debt. That's why you're here learning trading. Whatever it is, He will come and save you. Not in the way you may think, because your mind is thinking of being saved for the next 5 minutes of your life, the next month, next year. But His salvation is going to be eternal throughout your entire life and even beyond. Now that is powerful, isn't it? So stick to this. It's going to be hard work. And we are going to triumph together. I can't triumph alone. You realize that too. And that's why when I go, you are invited to join me. Not to go, right? To join me in celebrating what's to come. My wife don't like to hear that, right? But come on. When I'm gone, why does it matter, right? So yeah, that will be a big reunion when that time comes. And by then I would have hopefully settled all the legalities of the shareholding, especially for the lifelong members. It's a little tricky. Since the last live stream, you have heard me some updates. We'll see then. Now, a big part of this week, right? Let's take a look at this week, right? All green candles, no big deal. Right, how are you going to profit from this? Just by calls? No, not so simple, right? Most importantly, if you're here long enough, you will understand that we just need some short sprints here. Now, this is $10,000 right here, right? This is $10,000 right here. How do you learn to execute trades like that? Now, trades like this looks beautiful in hindsight, right? But they exclude the immense risks that you have to undertake in order to make your money. So if you're here long enough, you already know that, right? We're trying to target short sprints like that, and in order for you to make your $10,000 by scaling up and reducing your risk to rewards. I mean, reducing your risks and increasing your rewards. Now, give me a minute here. Give me half a minute. All right, I'm back. So now let's take a look. This was on Wednesday. Let's just take a look. I will run through. Now Thursday was Thanksgiving, so the market wasn't open. So I'll run through Monday to Wednesday. And then Friday, there's something very special, which I will run through that as well. So let's take a look at Wednesday first. Now, this was Wednesday. Now, a big part of Monday to Wednesday, you realize, will be this concept that I want to introduce. I mean, I have introduced in the Discord server, but this is a breakout and retrace from what was previously a resistance has turned into a support. I will be running a course. A big part of why I'm doing this live stream is so I can have lessons with you more consistently every week. So I'm looking at that. I'm running through some of the course syllabus. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Now, a big part of this is understanding this magenta. When magenta was always resistance, right? If you get to see it turn into support, especially on a breakout of a bullish structure, this is such a beautiful way of taking a call. Now let's take a look at this. This was at 10:23. Right, understand this was at 10:23, this analysis here. And that's about here. This was about 10:23 a.m. Okay. Now, when you understand this, you see the structure that you want to see forming. In this case, the structure was that cup and handle, waiting for the teal to start building more liquidity here. You see the teal turn into support. That was important because previously it was a resistance on the way down. So that's the first clue you have, but was it good enough? Maybe not, because you needed this on the breakout here. You see the handle started forming, isn't it? Now, the handle was important if you have knowledge of... Give me a minute, sorry. Sorry, I have to mute my mic to just clear my throat, or all of you will be deaf by now. Anyway, so understanding the dual algorithm forming the handle was extremely important. Now, this is not enough confirmation if you want to take more trades, because there is another confirmation which is in the precision algorithm here. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the jargons that I'm using, right, I use them daily in the Discord server. If you watch my videos long enough, you will also understand all these. By time, with time, I mean, you have that precision orange algorithm, right? Now, when you have this, you have a clear trade to take with very, very defined risk to rewards. You know there is a breakout in an orange, in a bullish structure that's building liquidity. Now you have one final boss to meet, and that's this magenta. So if you took a trade here, you protected it here, great. Now this is probably about $3,000-$4,000 if you took about 10 SPX contracts here. Good enough. If you took 20, you can hit your 10K right there, even before the magenta. But when it started building liquidity along that orange and magenta here, and magenta started forming into some support here. Now, this was a beautiful trade, especially if you took it near the orange support with the magenta turning support right here. Beautiful trade here to continue the way up. So you understand how to be looking out for confirmation in your structure and looking for that small pocket of trades that you can take. Many traders, especially newer traders here, who think that a live auction between billions and billions of dollars on the most liquid ETF in the world can be predetermined. Yes and no, but mostly no. Most of the time, the market is building liquidity. And if you choose a direction, you're 50-50. It's still very good odds, 50-50. But what makes it difficult is the complexity of the options that you're putting in, your slippage, your commission fees. So technically speaking, if you're thinking of gambling 50-50, you are always losing because of all these miscellaneous costs involved. So it's worse than roulette. Understand that, right? Now, when you understand that, mostly liquidity building, there are certain moves that are formed by balancing an imbalance. Now, if you understand physics, do you know how wind works, right? If you feel a gust of wind, it's from an area of high pressure to low pressure, right? So that's also the concept of diffusion. If you smell something, it's from a high concentration to low concentration. Now, this is called imbalance. When there's imbalance, it tries to balance, right? The high will travel to the low. Same with population, same with everything in the world. This is a principle that is true. It is tried and tested. It is real in the world. Likewise with trading, right? If there is a concentration of buyers and sellers, right, there is imbalance, the market will strive to achieve that balance. And the balance of SPY, or something that is, I would say, a safer ETF, because you don't want something that fluctuates too much to defeat the purpose of your risks. Bitcoin, for example, or even Nvidia sometimes. You have a stop loss of 1% of the price of the stock. If you leverage it by 50x, you're risking 50% of your portfolio to try to maintain the structure of your trade. And you have no assurance of that structure of the trade. So when you can understand that sort of risks, it puts your stop loss and makes it meaningless. It's an invalid stop loss because it's no longer purposeful. It's meaningless. So understanding that, using SPY and managing your downsides, because you understand that the market will not look at this structure that's forming, right? You can even pinpoint the structure to 0.1 point, 0.2 points, right? You do not apply your stops that tight, but you can see the structure forming literally within pennies. Now, when you can do that, and you can see that sort of imbalance that's forming. So you see the imbalance that's formed here, especially on the breakout of that cup and handle here in that orange. There is another breakout here when magenta turned into support, right? When you can understand this and you are able to identify the pockets of these imbalances, you are trying to profit from these imbalances. Now, when you can understand that, you are able to deconstruct it and work backwards. And I always mention 0.5 to 1 point is very realistic for you to predetermine a setup and a trade to try to capture this. Work this backwards. How many contracts do you need to take? And what is your risk parameters in order to get to $10,000 per trade or per day? Right? I do that almost every day. You see that how one trade can make that $10,000. It's all recorded, time-stamped in the analysis channel here. So go ahead. I get audited every day by members. Likewise, as I tell you, it's not over a fancy dinner that you get to know me. You live and you sleep with me, right? Not in that bad sense, but you see it happening, you know. It's not just a P&L. It's the P&L that follows through from an analysis, from a thought process, which you can learn. A P&L teaches you nothing, right? But if it's the entire process, entire thought, entire playbook, you can chain them up together and you learn something from it. Okay. Understand this, you work backwards, and that's why you see I'm not too keen. Some of you first time seeing this because you have been so poisoned by signal groups. You're looking for direction, right? You're looking to be like, today we are going up, just buy calls. You have been poisoned. save yourself, right? Detox, unlearn everything you've learned from wherever unhealthy place you've been. You have to understand that they want you to be thinking like that because they want you to be liquidity. They want you to be liquidity. For everyone that sells, they need someone to buy. For everyone that buys, they need you to sell. So the market is starved for liquidity. They need people who don't know what they're doing in order to join in and participate in the auction so they can eat you up. That's what they're trying to do, right? So if this is news to you, many people on YouTube, if they're live streaming or whatever, even talking heads, commentators, many of them are paid by the big boys to do it. Not directly, of course, right? They are not going to pay you directly, but they are, well, in the financial world, they have black ops doing all these, right? For example, like me, I worked for a big bank, really big bank. But they need to invest money in places that may not appear beautiful in their balance sheet. So they aggregate, they cascade their money down at least several levels. So it becomes difficult to trace back to them in order to invest all these money in the less savory places around the world. My boss was in charge of a VC that was being funded by one of the big banks. So you see how this works, right? So the money is vast. We're talking about trillions of dollars. And some of these organizations, which is a subsidiary of a subsidiary of a subsidiary, they perform different functions, right? Some of them, their main purpose is to just introduce liquidity into the market. Now, most recently, and I don't talk about this enough, most recently, there was a pump and dump, isn't it? Was it Beyond Meat? It was Beyond, yes. Abysmal, man. I saw some threads on Reddit. They don't realize that these are bots. They don't realize that these are organizations that are hired just to pump the stock up in order for the big boys to exit. Unfortunately, and some of your talking heads on CNBC, they are being paid millions just to voice a confusing opinion. You have to be wiser than this. You have to be more discerning than this, right? Unfortunately, the world it's a very dark place. If I get banned from YouTube after this, please remember me, right? Oh well. Yeah, all right. Now, let's go. Now, remember, the main lesson here, what you need to be understanding is how a previous support, or in this case, a previous resistance turned into support. This is also known as a breakout and retracement. So now, if you miss this, for example, if you miss the cup and handle, you'll be like, I missed the breakout. Why are you so worried? If you understood the orange precision algorithms, for example, you could still be able to catch a trade. If you understood how the magenta can turn into support, you may still be able to catch a small trade. So a big part of your training, if you trade every day with us, is that you have to understand how to be finding profits in the charts. You're finding profits in the charts, you're not too worried about missing a setup. You understand that, right? Now let's go quickly into the previous day from here. This will be 25th of November. And that's the previous day here. Now, likewise, noticed 25th November here, 11:13, right? Okay, let's take a look at that. 11:13 at 25th November will be right here. Now, this will be about 11:13 a.m. Now, you understand this again, likewise, it's still a cup and handle. Now, cup and handles, I've talked about this all the time. An overshort cup is great because you're literally trying to soak up sellers from that range there. Now, when you see as well that pink algorithm that's forming, right? It's also beautiful. The blue algorithm that started forming as well. The teal right here. You see the cup and handle forming. Sorry about that here. Let's get the teal out to play. Teal is out to play here, right? And understanding pink, which is here. Now, do you see that breakout and retracement on that magenta, which is your precision algorithm? Now, once you have this magenta here, remember one of the bigger analysis here that I had for you was to not short this. Now, this was right after I gave you instruction on this setup. I also gave you a counter instruction here, what to be looking out for. If this does not break magenta, you cannot short this, right? Because magenta is a key support. And just take a look. Magenta was penny perfect right there. So some of you are trying to short this because you're anticipating, you're hoping a move. You're not trained to find profits in the charts. You have to learn to train yourself to find profits in the charts. And this is what I mean when signal groups have already ruined you. Signal groups makes you want to catch a direction, makes you worry about missing the big move. So your whole mind is thinking about catching the big move. No, 0.5 points, 1 point, you can make it $10,000. We do that. I do that almost every day, right? So focus on that. When you focus on the right things, you work out from there, you become better. If you can catch a 1 point move, what makes you think you can't catch a 10-point move? Now, does that make sense? So be more wise about this. Be more discerning, especially if you're learning to trade. If you're learning to trade, you have to be humble enough to know that you have to start from the basics. Now, you don't go to a bank right in Wall Street and tell them that you are going to take over. You're going to be the next CEO. You're going to be the next managing director. You don't go in there and just do that, right? You know what we do? We have to wear. Now, you think this is fake, but it's not. You have to wear a less superior watch than your boss. You have to drive a lousier car than your boss. You have to. It's like that, right? You go in and you don't declare your intention that you're the best in the world. You go in there and you humble yourself and you buy coffee for everybody. You are the person that buys lunch for everyone. And then you learn because you hope someone sees you as that humble, subservient person and they will teach you something or they will show you their books. I'm sorry, that's life. So, don't base it off from movies or whatever you watch, right? It's so glorified. So understand that. And yes, things will be better for you. Now, so understand this setup here, right? Likewise, again, it's that same breakout and retracement. Now, in this case, the breakout and retracement, it's a little more difficult to find because magenta here, it's ideal for me, but not always, right? But if you're able to understand the structure here, especially with the teal and the pink right here, that's building liquidity here, you do see that the pink has been trying to build liquidity here off that magenta. Pretty tight, but still a possible trade here. Now, you don't always have to know how this may go. Because as I mentioned, right, if one candle here, let's just take a look at this one particular candle. This candle here is half a point. This is half a point. Now, if you can get in a good fill, you can literally protect within that same candle. Even if you're wrong, you will come up with a profit. And that's how important it is in order to have penny perfect algorithms. It's how important it is in order for you to be understanding how to be protecting your trade as aggressively as possible and catching the small moves to get into position so you can enjoy the bigger moves. The bigger moves, in this case, it's not a 10-point move, but it's a move within the precision algorithms. Now, when you understand that, your mind will be tuned very differently because you will be looking out for precision algorithms even more instead of looking for breakouts, right? And some of you will get faked out when you catch the breakout. So you have to look for precision algorithms. It's easy, right? As I mentioned now, this I've covered this actually in the previous video. It's easy for you to say, oh, let's just get calls. You're going to make money anyway, right? And if you're the kind of trader that can stomach this 6 point drawdown, you're going to go bust one day, right? I will bet against you every time because you cannot be taking trades with that sort of risk. And if you do, you can never scale. You'll be happily making hundreds a day. All right, fine. But you can never scale because the day you decide to say, oh, I'm going to make a few thousand a day, I'm going to scale up, your bad trading habits that you have been reinforcing every single day will ruin you. You cannot be that kind of trader that just says, just buy calls. Look at this and say, just buy calls, you're going to make money. That's such a lazy interpretation. It's lazy, right? If you have a lazy mind, if you don't have a mind that's tuned to training, you are never going to succeed in trading, right? Follow that, understand that. It's easy to say, right? Just buy calls. It's really sexy to say that. But yeah, actually, I bought calls once we bounced off the bottom Bollinger. So that for another time. But when you're day trading, especially 0 day to expiry, you cannot do that because you have very little understanding of the expiry of options if you do that. Okay, now I understand this now. And let's talk a little bit about the key structure for the week ahead. But a little bonus here, right? I want to give you a bonus because on Friday, I'm sorry, I told you not to trade on Friday, right? But I did. Not on the desk. I traded on my mobile. Let me just send in my trade for Friday. You know, that's the thing why we're doing this, right? Even if you're not on the desk, even if you're not serious, sometimes you see something that's happening, you can make a few $1,000. You can just do this anytime. So I went to the toilet and I got this done. Let's take a look. I'm sending my trade here. Okay, you see that, Discord members, you will see this here, right? This is my trade here. Right, you can go to the toilet, you can get a trade in. This is a bonus. This was on Friday, right? It was a shortened trading day, right? The day ended at 1 p.m. Last 5 minutes, all right, I made this was a $10,000 trade. I want to explain this, right? It's a little bonus. Because you tuned into the live stream, it's something that's additional from what I do every day, right? So I want you to learn this. Now, firstly, you understand that the market is just trending up, right? In a very low volume environment on a Friday after a major holiday, right? So this is low volume. You have to understand that the market was just buying, is just grinding up. On the last day of every month, right? If it's a trading day, especially on the Friday, and it's the last day of every month. Now I want you to keep note of this. If it's a Friday, it's the last trading day of the month. Okay? Expect some moves on the final 10 minutes. Yep, if you're newer, some of you already know this. That's great, right? If you're a newer trader, this is a time you need to pay attention, right? Because this is a concept of rebalancing. Many big funds, they want to rebalance their portfolios. So they want to do adjustments and make sure that there is a proper report that they can provide for the month that's passed. Now, many a times, not all the times, it involves buying because they want to show that they have made contributions in padding up their portfolios by owning some stocks. Not SPY specifically, because SPY is driven by algorithms when you make purchases into its constituents. You understand that. So big funds, they want to put in money, right? They want to show to their shareholders or that they have bought stocks for the month, right? It doesn't show. The shareholders are not going to look at the statements in detail. They just want to see, oh, you are owning this amount of SPY, you are owning this amount of Nvidia, you're owning this amount of Apple. Yeah, you're putting my money to good use. Now you understand that, right? So when you understand that concept, then the rebalancing of portfolio will make sense for you on Fridays, especially if it's the last day of the month. Okay, so earmark days like that, right? They may serve you well. Now, you cannot trade like you're gambling here. I made a trade here with, I think, $3,000. I can't remember. Maybe 3,000, right? It's money that you have already made for the week. It's small money that you can, in a way, put in for a little gamble. And if you paid attention, I was in the money. So I am taking not too much of a gamble, right? And you need to have algorithms in place as well. Now, just very, very simply, you notice that you can chart some algorithms here, right? There's some buying continuation structure here as well. Now, when you can chart something like that, you notice that there is also strength in buying here, right? When you notice that there's strength in buying, you can see two algorithms that's forming right there. If I were charting that day, if I were trading live that day, I would have charted all these algorithms and probably caught a trade here. Anyway, I would have caught a trade here. Now, another thing I want you to look at is this. 682, yeah? Now look at this, 682. This is the end of the month on Friday, 28th of November. I want you to take a look at when the month closed prior. Here, 31st of October. 31st October, the market closed at 682.06. That was the close. Yeah, 682.06. Now, once again, the market wants to be able to provide a headline. October to November, November turns green, right? November turns green from October. So once it hit that defense here at 682, I kind of knew it was going up, because you know that they want the market headline to show that it's green, because it has been green so far after a big red day. They want to manipulate you and think that the market is going to be green for the month. That will contribute later. I will talk a little bit about that later, because why are they manipulating us? And I want to show you this in the macro chart here, which may be very helpful for you later. Now, when you understand that, you know, oh, it's going to go green. And remember, in the final 10 minutes, half a point can give you 3 to 4x in returns. Just half a point. As long as you remain out of the money when you opened and you enter into the money, you can have this sort of returns. Like this, right? So this was, I didn't catch my fill. So you see, that's the thing, right? If you're trading on the mobile or in the toilet, I saw this trade, it was what, 90 cents? I couldn't catch the trade in time. I can't get it filled in time because I'm not using my workstation. And so you realize I could have gotten 5, 6x from this trade, maybe 10x. I didn't really pay attention. Another tip here is always close a trade at 59. Okay, because the final candle, most of the time, will be a correction candle. All right, so close your trade by 59. Don't get greedy. Sometimes the final candle goes up another 2 points. That's fine. Let it go. Right? There are certain times you have to pay close attention to. Right? In this case, because it's half a day. Right? But otherwise, 330, 350, 355, 359. 359 is when you exit your trade. Right? These are also when the volumes are introduced, because it's algorithmic trading nowadays. Now, when you understand this, you can catch trades like that. Just make a little money a little bit more money because you can use this money to pad for next week as well. So apart from trading with the algorithms, right, I do have more tricks up my sleeve that I wish to impart to you. It's going to take time. I don't always have the occasion to do that. How can I explain to you live regarding this when the market is so intense to the minute, to the second? You realize that. How can I explain this to you? So I hope you understand why it's difficult for me to do some things live, but yet I can do this on hindsight. It appears on hindsight, but I have to show you that I take a trade in order to support this. And obviously have an analysis that supports my trade prior. So as I mentioned, the P&L does not say anything, but the thought process and the entire playbook that I explain to you play by play, from the setup to the explanation of the setup to the trades that I take and to the charts on hindsight on analysis, they all match up. And it makes sense to you because that's the way you learn. You don't necessarily learn when I give you a signal live. You realize that. And these signals will ruin you. They will absolutely ruin you. Don't be too obsessed with this. I just want to show you that there's some things that you can learn if you trade and understand how the system works. When you understand the system works the same way, why you see how I use 5-day, 20-day, right? These are just industry standards, right? I've mentioned this before, 5 days because it's a weekly average, 20-day because it's an estimation of a monthly average. Now, I've also mentioned this long time ago in the Discord that there are code words that we use amongst traders back then, right? We would use 31 EMA, to give signals to each other. But that's just a small thing that we do. That for another time. It's less prevalent now because it's a lot of algorithmic trading now. Now, people like me, if I were to be doing what I'm doing now in today's world, I will be phased out. Right, this new world now, it's a lot of quant traders, a lot of people like me will become sales, frontline, front office traders. Right, we will not truly be traders anymore. The quants are taking over. Everything is algorithmic now, and we are just trying to take advantage of that. So I belong in a time now that this is helpful for me as a retail trader now, because I understand the inner workings and I'm able to find a way to make profits from this. But that aside, a lot of more things you can learn from this. Now let's talk about the week, how we're going to prepare ahead. As I mentioned, certain manipulation in place, right? You just have to be careful. Let's take a look at a 30-minute chart first before we look at a daily chart. Now, 30-minute chart, we have just been buying, and I told you, you cannot be shorting this as long as you're buying the green. And you realize the green, penny perfect, right? We have just been bouncing off the green algorithm. This is the strongest buying algorithm that you can identify in the 30-minute chart. Why are you shorting before this? And when you understand this, when you can understand this, you know you can't short this, right? The only short was here. And I mentioned we needed to retest. Well, if you watch my videos enough, right? Everything is there. I don't delete anything, right? I'm not shameless enough to delete anything if it's not right. You can check back, right? All right. I talked about a retracement back to the 5-day moving average and looking out for that on the break of the magenta. That was the last video. You see that happening, right? That 5-day, looking for liquidity in the 5-day before it starts pushing up. And that push up was still in that green buying continuation structure, isn't it? Absolutely beautiful. And you see how we built more liquidity on the 20-day moving average as well, right? You see that liquidity building there. And if you see that in the 1-minute chart on that same day itself, right? That was almost on Wednesday, I think. Right, we're building liquidity off that 20-day moving average in that beautiful pink algorithm right there, right? You see it for yourself how the liquidity was building. So you notice the structure that's forming within the 30-minute chart. What you need to learn is how to familiarize yourself translating from that 1 minute into that 30-minute chart structure there. I'll be careful, because when the market is going up without too much liquidity building, now this is good. This is good liquidity. So when this happened, I knew it's going to keep going up here because there's a certain pullback. Still not good enough, because this amount of liquidity, or the lack thereof, can be very easily taken. Very easily, as long as there's bad news. Is market anticipating a bad news? Now, you have to understand, relation does not mean causation, right? This can be helpful if there is a bad news, and the market may be preparing for it, but it doesn't mean that's going to happen. Understand that logic, because if you're trading very one-dimensionally in thinking the chart is telling me this as if it's a fortune telling, you are going to be ruined, right? It's a playbook. You understand liquidity, you understand the playbook. This is not going down until we start tapering. Now, we'll take a look at the daily chart here, right? Once again, nothing's changed. You've watched this for years now. You will see bottom Bollinger retest, and I talked about buying at bottom Bollinger, isn't it? I even mentioned it in the Discord server when we had that large red candle, right? I mentioned just buy at bottom Bollinger, you'll be fine. You can just buy in later, just average down. That's a very loose advice. Don't do that if you don't understand what you're doing, right? If you have a main portfolio and you have cash in hand, right, this is always a good way to dollar cost average into your positions. And I mentioned about how you wait for the bottom Bollinger to stop trending down and to start plateauing, and to wait for the 5-day to start trending up and plateauing. Because if this wants to go down, I talked about this, bottom Bollinger and 5-day will start and continue trending down here like that. This is the case for your Bitcoin, and I'm using IBIT, and you see it happen. I talked about this, right? You see 5-day and bottom Bollinger just bouncing off each other on the way down. That's known as your falling knife. You get out of the falling knife only when you reclaim your 5-day. Now, not yet, because there's still 20-day here for Bitcoin. You just have to be very careful. But I don't want to talk about Bitcoin. I want to talk about SPY. And so you see, once we reclaim the 5-day moving average and 5-day started trending up, and you see the bottom Bollinger plateauing, there's a good chance you look out for buying continuation, which happened in the 30-minute chart right here. Once you reclaimed that 5-day moving average and rebounded off that 5-day moving average again. So in a way, you're trying to understand that the market is building off liquidity of that 5-day in that buying continuation structure there. And the reason for that is that the 5-day needs to build liquidity on the way up in order to retest the 20-day. And we hope there is a crossover again. Because if this crossover, then we are going to most likely, not yet, but it's possible, because the upper Bollinger is going to be near the high at 690. Now, market is poised at 700. There are so much orders here. So if I am a bear, and before the bad news come, right, I will allow it to go here before I sell. You understand the psychology behind that, right? Will we get to 700? I don't know. Maybe there's bad news that happens before then, right? Or we chop here forever before we get there. So it's not meaningful information to tell you that we're going to get to 700. It's not meaningful. It's meant to confuse you if I say that, right? But I'm telling you, you have to understand the principles of trading. There's so much orders here, right? If I'm a bear and I can sell at 700 instead of 685, why don't I get it to 700 before I sell, knowing that there is so much order here? Or if this breaks out, I allow it to go even higher before I start selling. So you see the psychology of the bear. And this is why you don't call the reversal if we are in the strongest buying algorithm. And I always tell you, wait for some sort of tapering if this wants to head down, because you see liquidity starting to build here, especially on the tapering, right? So if we do start having some sort of reversal, this is what you want to look for. Early reversal, because we are still above 20-day moving average now. If you want to see larger reversals, wait for 20-day moving average to turn into some sort of resistance. By then, your 5-day will cross up and then provide you more liquidity before it wants to cross back down again. The larger liquidity for the bears will be here, and that's where you see your 5-day has to return back here by then, and you see the rejection of the 20-day, right? So you will see liquidity here first of that orange and 20-day, and subsequently on your 5-day and that yellow rhythm on the way down. Be careful, just be very careful, because the market is not done yet, right? They have soaked up buyers. This is a low volume weekend, right? Just be careful, right? I am always very careful. I do not predict. I don't think that the market's just going to run away. I always look for how it's going to sack me. I always look out for how it's going to turn the other way, and I look out for the opposition. This can be, right? Because it's technical knowledge. When you know enough, you will prepare because you know enough. Low volume week, offer key support. This could just be soaking up the buyers here, right? We still have liquidity here, but I will not short this yet until a few indicators that happen. But you have to understand that this is still technically possible. This can still be an inverse handle here. So you understand technical analysis is not about predicting the next move. How are you able to predict 30 points on SPY when you can understand how silly that thought is? Now, I don't want to use the S word, but when you can understand how silly that thought is, that you think you can predict 30 points on SPY, especially over a timeline. Some of you think you can predict SPY within a week, 30 points. You have no idea how the stock market works, right? If you're a man of power, like you're in the White House and you want to do some alleged trading, yes, maybe you can control the market. You and I, we're not that powerful, all right? So when you understand that, you know how to take it level by level, algorithm by algorithm. And that's why I keep telling you, don't worry about the 30-point moves. Because 1 point moves can give you $10,000. Why do you want to worry about the 30-point moves? Right? But I want you to understand the technical understanding of this. Because when you gain wisdom, when you gain knowledge of how the technical analysis work, you can translate that into the skill of your trading. You can make more money. Right? So understand that the liquidity is being built here where the 5-day was. Right? It was hovering for several days, so you see there is a lot of liquidity here. And that's why I always make sure that I have my blue algorithm ready. By then, you will see 5-day turn into some sort of resistance before it starts heading down. Watch out for this, right? Just watch out for this because there may be bad news coming in December. You don't know that. And there's FOMC that there is just some, I would think it's some misaligned optimism regarding that. A lot of confusing signals in the market, so you just have to be wary. Now, if we are going up, right, don't fight this, right? Don't fight this. Don't fight anything that's in orange or in green. You only short this when there's at least yellow, when we are at least under 20-day, when we are at least under 5-day, right? So these are your clearer indicators to start shorting this. The best way to short this is when we get to the blue, right? When we start building liquidity in the blue, especially on the key bearish liquidity that we have identified. Now remember this, right? I talked about this bearish liquidity here several videos ago, where the 5 and 20 started building more liquidity. You see 5 and 20 starting to converge again now. If we do start building more liquidity here, this may be ideal for the way down. We may get there, right? FOMC is about mid December. But otherwise, if we continue to head up, right? Remember about my 700 theory, right? We have to watch out because we are still in a buying continuation. The next step here will be that we close the gap, which we already have on Friday. So that gap close. I talked about that on Thursday. Thursday was Thanksgiving. Wednesday, right? So when you understand this, you wait for structure to start forming. You see on the way up, just take a look on the way up, how we have built liquidity with the magenta. right? So you firstly see that bounce from here, penny perfect magenta, right? And it gave us that magenta from that 5-day moving average here, right? And subsequently another magenta from that 5-day moving average here as well. So you see it's magenta that's building the liquidity on the way up. So if this wants to continue heading up, you look out for magenta. The best structure for me, if I know the sustained bullish move, will be one that continues to trend up with the 5-day moving average. Off magenta will be ideal, right? So if it's magenta and green that's building more liquidity here, right, this will be ideal if you want to continue heading up. But along the way, pay close attention to the liquidity that may bring it down as well. Now, thank you for watching this. It's a little long, it's a little extended. I'm over time by 15 minutes. How I wish I can continue, but your attention span is precious to me as well. I don't want to be rambling, right? I want to learn to do this in a more crystallized way so that when you review this video, it doesn't take too much of your time, but yet you can learn more. So that's my challenge as well. But please watch this video again, especially at the start, because apart from the trading knowledge, a very big part of trading is your psychology. So last story before I go. When I entered my first professional an analyst job, the big part of it was not the technical skills, right? The big part of it was the psychology, right? You're being put in a big office, swanky. It's beautiful, right? You are overwhelmed. You think you are someone, right? You think you are a winner because you have qualified, you have out-qualified people. You are in a place where people dream of. You are seeing big numbers, and that's the first training actually they gave you. They will make you very numb to big numbers. You get immune to seeing numbers. So you are not too perturbed by your spending. I'm only making back then what? I started as an intern, so my salary was this was terrible, very terrible, right? Not enough to survive in New York. Let me just tell you that. But it didn't matter because you have a big office, you are immune to numbers, you're seeing billions of dollars, you're reconciling billions of dollars. It makes you a little detached from reality. So that made me learn something, right? That made me learn that it's not about how much money you have. It's about what your mind thinks, right? Your mind over... I was young, so I could survive with little money. But when your mind thinks that you can make millions of dollars and billions of dollars, it doesn't matter if you only have $10 in your pocket. If you can understand what I'm trying to say, you have attained some sort of wisdom in that, right? Yeah. You understand that? When you can understand that, you know that psychology is very important in your trading career or important in your life, right? It's difficult because some of us are facing reality of shortage. I have to, right? I try to survive day to day. I have lived that sort of life. But when you're put in a position when you are identified as a winner, you are trained as a winner, you are trained as a killer, it doesn't matter how much lack or deficiency you have, because once again I mentioned that there is this training to train you to look forward to a bright, hopeful future. So when you understand that, you can put things in perspective, especially on the trading floor, right? Some of you are trading and learning to trade, worrying about the pennies in your wallet. You shouldn't be, right? If you are embarking on this, you come to a team of winners. You come to a team of of people who are seasoned in the stock market. You need to identify yourself and be immune to the numbers, to be numb to them. That was the first training I had. And when you open your mind that way, you see how much money there is in the stock market. You see that you're just scraping the bottom of the barrel. When you understand that, you will realize that scraping the bottom of this barrel is absolutely all right? Because I don't even move the market. If I try to scrape $10,000 from a trade, I have to be careful. You have to look at the open interest, right? If you're trading, especially SPX options. If you're putting in 20, 30 contracts, the market knows you're in there, right? So you have to be careful. I will talk about all these advanced techniques later on, next time. But that doesn't mean that you can just plonk in 50 contracts or SPX in one trade, right? You're just committing. You have no idea what you're doing if you're not looking at the open interest, if you're not looking at the order books and just putting in trades that you don't understand what you're doing. Okay, that disclaimer aside, but I want you to understand that this is the magnitude of what you're doing. So when you approach this learning, when you approach the stock market, you need to think big. You need to have a big mind. When you know that, you will put in the work. Because when I saw the potential of my employment, I know how much work I need to put in, and I'm motivated by that. But that starts only when you see the magnitude of the possibilities of your success. Now, if I were to be in a small firm and I don't see any progress, I don't see any potential, how can that motivate you every single day to work hard? So you see, it translates directly. You have that potential, it translates, you know how much work you need to put in, you know how it's worth it, and you get numb to the numbers, and you can focus on building the skill. So that, when you understand that psychology behind it, you will trade better. You will not trade with more fear. But yet you understand and you have reverence towards the stock market. Because the stock market is a place where it slaughters as well. So you need to have reverence when you come here. You need to understand your risk. Because some of you come in here just thinking you're going to win. You are going to get slaughtered, right? You're the first to be slaughtered. Because if you don't lose, you don't understand how to win. Right? The winners all understand how to lose, and they stop themselves from losing. If you have never lost in your life, you have no idea what it means to win. So start small and fail. That's why paper trade, understand your weaknesses, fail, start small, fail, because once you got it all figured out and you can scale up, why do you worry about the small failures? As I told you many times, one good trade when your trading is up is going to cover for all your small losses. That's the power of scaling up. Have that mentality to scale up, but you cannot scale up if you don't understand the magnitude of the potential that you are in. Now, understand that. Very, very important, right? So, on that note, do spend December, as I mentioned at the start of the stream, do spend December recalibrating yourself, recentering yourself. 2026 is going to be a great year for you, only because you start to plan and prepare now. Don't be compensating for the year now. If you have a bad year, wrap it up, because you wrap up that whatever's bad and you throw it into the trash and you start new. If you're going to continue to repackage the trash, if you'll continue to just keep the trash open, your life is not going to change. So don't compensate anymore for the year, right? No matter how terrible your life was or is. Pack it up, prepare for the new, make some changes in your life. And changes can only happen if you remain accountable, have checks and balances, have a duty and purpose, report in and show up every single day, no matter whether you like it or not. And what's the worst that can happen to you if you show up? What's the worst? I have never regretted showing up. Never. Never. Days that I don't want to show up, I have never regretted showing up. No matter in what occasions in life, for work, in my relationships, my friendships, whatever. I have never regretted showing up. And likewise to you. Show up every day, whether you like it or not, whether you feel like it or not, whether you're battered or you're beaten down. Show up. Some people don't even have the luxury to show up. Right? You have the luxury to have YouTube, to watch a live stream, to click buttons and make money. You show up. You show up because you have the luxury to do that. But if you're also hard at work, I understand that. I respect you because you have a day job and you're still trying to learn this. Hustle, man. I mean, I worked my ass off too, man. I have the luxury now in my later years to relax because I worked bloody hard when I was younger. I worked bloody hard, all right? I gave up so much. You have to make sacrifices. You have to work. You have to work really, really hard. No one's going to give things to you, right? I don't have a rich father or mother. I don't even know where I came. Never mind. That's for another day. But you cannot expect people to give things to you, right? You work, and you take it, right? You own it. You work so hard that you look in the mirror and you are proud of that person in the mirror. You got to work hard, man. If you're lazing around, always ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen if you show up? What's the worst that can happen if you wake up an hour early? What's the worst that can happen if you get out of bed? What's the worst that can happen if you put in a run? What's the worst that can happen? Do this enough day by day, and that's why we report in every day, right? We're here every day. Report in. Just join in. Join in every day. You're going to find some progress in your life. All right, we got this. I'll see you tomorrow at opening bell. Enjoy your Sunday. Once again, thank you very much. This is only my second live stream. I am such a terrible noob at this. Thank you for your tolerance. I will improve this one way or another. I have no idea what I'm doing, but thank you. Continue focusing on trading. That's what I'm good at. Thank you for listening to that. But when it comes to live stream, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. But thank you for just watching this. All right, we got this. See you in the Discord server tomorrow. All the best. Enjoy your Sunday. God bless you. And yeah, all right, goodbye. How do I stop the stream again? I'm sorry. I'll try. Let's try this. All right. Okay, let's stop the stream.